Hi everyone, my name is Tim Saxby. That's me on the screen looking awful with a terrible haircut. I directed Beyond the Sea, the 2022 student short film that you might have seen. If you haven't and you're listening to the audio commentary, very strange, go watch the film, then come back. But yeah, basically I just thought I'd break down the 20-minute or so film. Hopefully it might help some future film students with their projects, who knows. Basically, I'm sort of doing this as a dry run because I'm being interviewed in a couple of weeks about the film by some students, so I thought it'd be a good chance to refamiliarise myself with my own work. So here we go, the opening shot. This is shot right next to the River Humber, which is nowhere near this shot, which is the other side of the city, pretty much. One fun thing about the text on the screen that you might notice is that it actually is the same colour matching as the very first Ray Charles album, and by that I mean we took the Ray Charles album into Photoshop and colour matched each letter individually. It took forever. I really like that shot actually with the pigeons. It is cool. Fun fact, I'm actually using those headphones right now to record this audio commentary. This shot here took us 5 months to film. Let me explain why. So the original shot showed Michael walking up to the camera and then crossing the road and going into the cemetery. That took ages to film in itself because you had to time it with traffic. And then we realised it would be good if you had the flowers, so we rewrote it and refilmed it with the flowers. Then we filmed it with the flowers and didn't have the headphones on, so then we had to refilm it with the headphones. And then just an endless cycle of constantly forgetting stuff for this one shot. And in the end, we only used like 4 seconds of it. This scene as well is actually also filmed right outside my grandmother's grave. That she's looking at it right now, because that's really where the story idea came from. Was me talking to my grandma and wondering who her new next door neighbours were, who her new next door neighbours were, and sort of coming up with this cool idea that maybe they came back and came up with the idea of Beyond the Sea. I might go quiet sometimes, I don't really know what to say, but I like the fact that when he drops the flowers, they land perfectly like that. Look at those jeans, the skinniest of jeans in the world. A Tim Saxby film. Oh, here she is, the lovely Jenny Smith, playing Lisa Gale. Originally this scene, she was meant to be on a bike, like an old-timey, vintage blue bike, but the person who was meant to give her that bike flakes out, so we had to redo it with a map, which I think looks just as good. It looks better on the poster anyway. Here we go. Their first meeting. A lot of Doctor Who music used in this, if you haven't already been able to tell.
Yeah, I got that. I just meant on this map.
One really strange thing I find when watching this is that Jenny, who plays Lisa, her costume was my girlfriend at the time. It's her clothes. It's very strange seeing someone else wear your ex-girlfriend's clothes. Very unsettling.
Are you telling me
I mean, both of these two are absolute legends. I've worked with them on almost everything. I'm writing something new at the moment and 100% intend on having both of them in it in some capacity. Possibly back in lead roles if suited. I really like the editing around this, if I do say so myself. I wonder whose phone number that is. Writing on the back of a go outdoors receipt. I really like that shot. Here's Harry's David Tennant impression. And now comes his little Marty McFly. There we go. Me and Harry are big Doctor Who fans. In fact, we do a podcast all about Doctor Who. We used to do a podcast all about Doctor Who. Hence this little Weeping Angel reference here, which I'm surprised quite a lot of people have picked up on. Or maybe the Weeping Angels are more popular than I originally thought. I love that hard cut. I didn't know how to cut into it, and what I learned through doing that was sound plays just as much a part of a transition as the visual element does. There they come.
Your middle name wouldn't happen to be Elizabeth, would it?
Yeah, it is. I don't understand what is happening.
This has to be a coincidence.
What's a coincidence?
Sorry, I was back there.
This scene took ages to film. Even though the sound you're hearing in the background of the traffic is added in
What kind of a question is that?
post-production when we edit the film, we add that in afterwards. there was people just honking horns and shouting stuff through the windows, cars and vans, and just people being, being enthusiastic, but at the same time not realising that they're actually disturbing the film. I love this shot. I remember filming it and thinking I've messed this up, but didn't have the time to go back and reshoot it on the day, so we just went with it. And then when we put it in the edit suite, I thought, that looks brilliant.
Maybe it's fate, maybe it's luck, maybe it's karma. Hold on, that's Ghostbusters.
Another Doctor Who reference there for you.
It was destiny.
What are you talking about? What is going on?
But all I know is that this isn't 1958. This is 2021.
What the heck am I doing in
There's a reshoot.
I don't know.
We forgot to get Jenny's coverage on the day, so we had to go back literally 4 or 5 days before the film was due in, which is why her stuff looks so much more crisper.
Sorry, I don't know.
And that line's dubbed there.
Maybe we should get back to mine and try and figure out what's going on from there. It's gonna be dark soon.
Rose's theme there in the background for any Doctor Who fans.
It's Michael. Should we get back to mine?
Let's. My old flat there on Beverley Road in Hull. That's where I used to live. This is all my flat. Oh dear me. Oh, my old kitchen. I haven't seen all this in a while. It's very strange. Oh man, look at all this.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Little mini egg mug. The sound of the pops as well here are all added in afterwards, which is why I quite like the second one. It's deliberately loud to sort of hide the transition again. There you go. I also like the fact that he's made up a cup of tea, clearly seeing Harry's mug that he's drinking water. I also think this wasn't one of the first things we filmed, but it was one of the first things we used the lights for, which is why some of it looks slightly dark and dingy. I wasn't really used to using the lights, so it took a bit of setting up.
What do you mean?
The reason Lisa mentions dance here is in the original script it ended with a dance number. The original plan was to have the movie really pay a homage to stuff like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Back to the Future, Breakfast Club, these sort of 80s classics which I took a lot of inspiration from in writing this, where they would just have a dance number for no goddamn reason. And there was meant to be one at this. The film was meant to end with a dance number between the two of them, and due to time restraints, we just had to cut it. I think the actual ending's better, but it does mean there's a lot of, background on various characters that you don't really pick up on. There's Harrison Tinley there, right? You will spot him later playing the part of Ben. The footage that was shown on the TV there was the very first film I ever made at university. These are all Facebook pictures I just stole from Harry's Facebook. And there's Kitty there as her character's name. If you listen in the background, you can actually hear me doing my radio show, my friend Ben Redfern. There's a bit of background noise. Harry skillfully just moving the same DVDs around.
What's that?
Not Jenny's hands.
Here we are. Look what I found.
Now this was the very first thing we ever shot, and you can tell because the fact that the tripod's in shot, and also I've never noticed that, and also the sound isn't particularly good because we had to use a different microphone. I forgot to hire out a microphone, so I had to use my own, which couldn't plug into the camera we were filming on, so I had to plug it into my DSLR and record the audio through that, which is just an absolute nightmare.
We don't really use books nowadays.
Oh, well, I'm sure these will be just as good, right?
There's nothing wrong with Last of the Summer Wine.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that shot. There we go. Are you ready? There I am. There's my little cameo. Hey, here he is. Producer of Beyond the Sea and scene stealer Harrison Tinley. I really love the dialogue exchange between these two. It is nice. It is literally me and all my friends have this conversation. Yeah, all those things actually happened as well. I did all those things to a colleague of mine called Ben.
Honestly trying to tell me you have a woman who was born
You have a woman?
1937,
You have a woman?
21 years later, living in your flat.
Yes. The last of the Summer Wine theme tune there kicking in. We actually used quite a lot of sound as
Definitely a woman.
to help with the transitions. Harrison also repping his film merch.
Well, old, thank you.
These two do look good on camera together. They've got a good. You can buy their friendship just by looking at them. They look like they would be mates.
She has an old bike.
I think they do get on in real life as well, which is nice.
She has an old bike. Dude, I've got a 20-year-old Fiat Panda. You don't see this in summer.
Harrison did used to have quite an old car, which I think he had for about 6 months before he had to scrap it. Harry's little audition for Doctor Who here, looking back out the TARDIS. There you go. Now, this is an absolute nightmare to film. As you can see, it's a very, very tight set. So, having to do everything handheld with the camera on my shoulder behind Harry, you know, it was very difficult and very stressful afternoon trying to film this scene.
What would you do if you were me? I don't know what to do with her. Honestly, I have no
Also, Harrison has grown a beard since he was in the radio studio. No one's ever really picked up on that.
You really think that in the last 63 years of human
When I was writing the dialogue between these two, I really took inspiration from Jeremy and Mark from Peep Show, which has been picked up on by a couple of people who have watched it.
proven, I think you'll find. I could take it to a museum or something. No, don't do that. Think about it. She'll have to pay a fiver to walk around and stand in front of a load of old shit she used to have in her front room.
I like that line. The fact that someone comes to the future and just sees all their own stuff in the museum. I can't remember how we lit this either. Because there is a light right above them.
What? Why does that make me look like an idiot?
I think we might have just used the actual light. This was a nightmare again, filming in Hull, as I'm sure you can imagine. Just kids on bikes looking right down the lanes and shouting stuff. I actually went for a walk. I loved where those ducks landed. That was amazing. Went for a walk around Hull during filming and just came across this bridge which I didn't even know existed. So we wrote this scene into it. Originally this wasn't meant to be here. Lisa, Jenny's character, was just meant to go off to the bookshop or whatever she ends up doing. But it worked quite well to sort of utilise this location.
What if this is afterlife or something?
What do you mean?
No, wait, no, I don't mean like that.
Stop. I need some space.
In the original version, Jenny falls over. She walks away. That footage was kicking around somewhere. And he just falls straight over those rocks. Newland Ave. Lovely Newland. My biggest pet peeve of this movie is about to come up. There it is. That fucking minion. I hate it. Dove House Hospice, number 87. Absolutely amazing. They were so generous with their time. They gave us free reign of all of upstairs, which was just so kind of them. I mean, they do sell some really good stuff. And literally, we didn't have to dress the set at all. All of this stuff was in there, apart from a few props, which I'll point out. Like, for example, these Back to the Future magazines here. Actually, everything was there. It was just perfect. You could take anything and pick anything up, and really utilised, you know, going through the records and stuff, and, you know, that camera there in the background. It just works so well. One thing that, again, is just like bugbears me is the fact that the Baron Knights are so clearly visible. I've still got this record behind me now. I don't know where the camera is, actually. I think might have given the camera... Did we leave it there? We did something with it. I can't remember. We might have actually just left it in the shop. So I don't have it anymore. That's my mum with a little cameo, little flashback cameo here. As if she's taking the photos and footage of Lisa from back in the day. The bandstand. So yeah, originally you were just meant to go from their conversation straight into this. That bridge scene wasn't meant to take place. And these cups were rank because me and Harrison had a Costa like a week ago and we just held onto the cups.
Oh, I love music. I can show you my record collection later if you like.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, since they came back into fashion, I sort of started.
One thing that I was really keen on when we shot the film was we filmed everything in golden hour. So when the sun's at its lowest, I think, or brightest or something like that. And it just gives everything a really nice golden tinge, so it makes everything look kind of dreamy. So you will notice a lot of the film is shot like that. Emily, I think that character's called. A little Back to the Future, a couple of my favourite movies there. And the reason she actually puts on a David Bowie LP there, but you hear Frank Sinatra coming out of it. I love that costume, it's really nice.
Well, I thought of you as a Sinatra fan.
Who isn't?
Good point. Turn it up.
Yeah. The reason that we used Frank Sinatra is just because my granddad was such a big fan of Frank. And I kind of wanted to pay tribute to my grandfather, so we used Frank Sinatra in it. Well, instrumental of Frank Sinatra. I suppose if I had to say one thing I was unhappy about the film, it would be this sequence here between Michael and Lisa. It's quite a heavy subject they're having to talk about, and try not to defend myself too much. It's a heavy subject they've got to talk about, but I've only got 20 minutes in this film. I've only got a 20-minute film, so I don't have a particularly large amount of time to delve into every character's backstory. So even though it's quite a serious, dark subject, what's happened to Emily, we kind of left it open-ended to leave it up to the audience what they think happened. Unfortunately, this kind of stuff does happen, but maybe this, I think it could have been. It's nothing to do with their performance. It's my writing, isn't it? Really, that I'm not particularly too fond of. I love this bit. There's Joe, who I've worked with on a couple of other projects. I absolutely love how we managed to dress this set to make it look like a beer garden, because that is literally just my back garden. That was literally the seating bit outside my flat, and we hung those things up there, and there was a garden table already there, but we put stuff on it. Harry's glass, you'll notice, we only filled it half full, so it looked like they'd been there a while. Also, Pulp playing in the background, a little reference to what me and Harry did next. Filming here at Hull Marina because it reminded me and Harry of Cardiff Bay, where they film a lot of Doctor Who from 2005, and we kind of really wanted to emulate that sort of feel, so there you go. I think at one point as well we actually ended up sticking the collar of Jenny's dress down with some tape just because it did keep blowing around too much. Hey, there she is, good old Kitty as Emily. First time I'd ever worked with Kitty, absolutely amazing performance and just so talented. I'd love to work with her again. Here we go, very last shot. Gets his closure, gets everything he needs to move on with his life. Music builds. Here we go. There you go. That's Beyond the Sea. Yeah, I mean that was quite nice to watch that back. I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy with it. There's certain things that I would change about it. Emily, I was right. My mum there. Everybody who worked on this was just brilliant. Everyone really gave their time. Poor Tom Rivers there in the credits. I must say to him, drove me around for a whole sequence of the film that never even made it into the film. But yeah, thanks very much. And if you haven't watched it, go watch it again.